I didn't have a lot of time during the new year to sit down and record videos, but now that we're fully into 2026, I think we can get back into the swing of things. And I've got a game here in the legendary tier German cruiser Hindenburg, the last marathon ship. And I think since I last spoke, some news has been teased that Kremlin is coming to the game as the second marathon ship. I assume it will be a lot like it was obtaining the Hindenburg. We'll have to see, but I wanted to take a look at this ship because I really haven't played it since the marathon was over, and it's a good ship. I also don't remember if I've shown you a match with Riegerwald at the helm. I'll show you the build here. That's who we've got for this battle. And basically, his whole purpose is buffing the AP, which is already good on the Hindenburg, although it doesn't have any kind of improved pen angles like the American cruisers, the Des Moines, for example, but it does have good pen and good alpha, and you'll see that in effect during this battle. Also, I wanted to show you this battle because take a look at the ships that are on the flank with me. I believe one is a cruiser, HMS Defense, the other is a battleship, either Sovetski Rossiya or Sovetski Soyuz. I don't remember which, to be honest with you, but the reason I bring that up is because if you watch the minimap, I believe both the battleship and the cruiser are going to follow me for the entirety of this match, and that's going to lead to good things. It turns out playing your flank that you spawn on is a good idea. There's Venezia out there, by the way. He takes the first salvo from the main battery guns, and it's 2 citadels for 16,000 damage. We can see the effects of Riegerwald in action now. And of course, that blind shot comes nowhere near Venezia, but enter Minotaur, who, I don't know if he gets into Venezia's smoke. I don't know if he launches a smoke screen of his own. Either way, he's dark inside of that cloud. And if we take a look at the minimap, then as far as we can tell, the majority of the enemy team has decided to lemming train over to the Alpha Cap. I think we count 6 ships there, and there are only 9 ships on each team, so that means 3 of them must be in this area. We've accounted for 2, and speaking of the second one, Minotaur, well, there you go. That's the power of the Hindenburg with Riegerwald at the helm. Of course, probably anything could get 5 citadels on Minotaur, and do 33,000 damage like that, but it feels pretty satisfying. However, now that Minotaur has been dispatched, we've got Venezia out here, and there's still another ship as of yet unaccounted for. Has to be a battleship, although we don't know where it is, and we're wondering if Venezia is going to traverse all the way around that island, come around that corner, or if he's going to double back. We're going to reverse into the cap because we don't know where the battleship is. Well, as soon as I say that, now we do. He's over there behind that island, and he's a Yamato, which is, sort of scary with a 32mm overmatch. And Venezia's sap, it's honestly interesting to see a Venezia running sap because I see a ton of them running HE and I don't understand it. If you want to know why you should run sap in the Venezia, well, just observe that hit he got on me, and that's not the only one. That does a lot of damage. I'm reduced to about third of HP with 2 salvos from that guy. Sap is not fun to play against, I'll tell you that. It might be fun to play if you're driving the Venezia, but if you're driving something that the Venezia can pen, not ideal. In other news, both of the destroyers on each team have gone down, so at least we're equal there, and we are ahead on kills. In fact, if we can clear out this Venezia, and if we can clear out the Yamato, this flank will be totally free. We'll have the Charlie cap, and we already have the Bravo cap. That's what happens when one of the teams decides to put all of its eggs in one basket. They lose map control, and if we can regain map control, that should set up the win conditions. Now, for one reason or another, this cruiser here, which I think I mistakenly identified as HMS Defense, is flat broadside to the Venezia. However, he is, angled against the Yamato or bow tanking him. In fact, he might be behind the island where the Yamato can't shoot him. And we are able to take down the Venezia. I believe that's actually a Sevastopol. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, one of the friendly cruisers goes down, and we're about 15 seconds away now, 10 seconds actually, from taking this capture circle. So what do? We could make our way toward the other flank and try to help out the rest of our team. Their numbers are quickly dwindling. I believe now there's only a Rhode Island bow tanking 4 ships on the Alpha Cap. So we do need to get down there and provide assistance. We've got Worcester broadside. He doesn't see us. Our concealment is not great, 11.5, but he's well outside of it. And he takes a citadel from, I think, the friendly battleship. And now that we've got all of our turrets on target, I think it's time to take the shot. And the results, after this patient waiting, are pretty good, although Worcester slows down, and my only regret of this battle is that we didn't take a little extra time, because I think we could have sunk him there. There's another citadel, and we're up to 100,000 damage, but this full health Yamato is kind of a problem. Not in the sense that he's really affecting the outcome of the game. Usually battleships don't when they hang out by islands and sit here stationary, but his presence here means that it's going to be difficult to move on to the other side of the map, so we've just got to take him out. And Hindenburg is a ship that can brawl, even with the likes of Yamato. Now, it's risky, of course, because Yamato can overmatch the armor scheme, but it doesn't so much matter if the Yamato doesn't think you're that much of a threat and doesn't shoot you because you've got teammates pushing in tandem with you. But we are a threat. Look at that 3 citadels there through the Yamato cheek. And it's ultimately the friendly Sevastopol that finishes him off, getting him his 2nd kill and us our 3rd fist. Now Worcester is all that's left here, and the ship count, for both teams, it's even. It's a nice 4v4, but Worcester is kiting toward the map border, evidently wanting to leave this match and move on to another. Ideally, we would assist him in that endeavor by sinking him and sending him back to port. But one gem of wisdom I've learned in this game over the years is that you don't chase kites, particularly when they're sailing for the map border. If we get sucked into a scenario where we're following this guy, we're going to be drawn out of position to affect the rest of the game. And if this Worcester really wants to retreat to the A4, A5 grid square, that's fine. We'll let him do it, especially since we just lost another ship. And if we want to win this game, which we can, there's still about half the time left to go, well, then we have to observe that we've got both the Bravo and Charlie cap. So we've got a steady points income from 2 out of 3 of the objectives. The enemy holds 0, although I think it's safe to assume they're probably going to end up taking Alpha. What we need to do is get into the right position to defend the Bravo cap. And this battleship behind me, as well as this cruiser inside of the Bravo cap, which is a Harbin, are going to come in handy for that. In a situation like this, I think it's important to remember that when you have the objectives secured like this, and you have the majority of caps, you have the win conditions secured, and it's incumbent on the enemy team to push into the objectives, or alternatively, to push into your team, and either take the objectives from you or send you all back to port. In other words, in this scenario, there really is no reason to be aggressive. Now, keep that advice in mind, because even as I'm telling you this, I don't know that we're going to end up following that advice perfectly well. Sovietsky Soyuz, we can take a shot at him pretty safely, going behind the island. The AP against his somewhat angled broadside is not all that effective, with a bunch of ricochets, bunch of overpens in the superstructure. That's okay, though. We're up to 160,000 damage, and here we are, being too overly aggressive. We wanted to go around this corner to get vision of whatever might be here. We didn't know that all 3 of the last remaining enemy ships would be here, though. We get the high caliber medal as we lose all of our HP to the predations of I don't even know what. The Rhode Island, the A-Gear, the Des Moines, all of them shot at our broadside, and well, we're well on our way back to port. So we're going to have to trade then. We're going to have to take somebody with us, and that ship is going to be Hindenburg. We also did, not Hindenburg, sorry, Aegir. We also did get torpedoes in the water, and they might have just enough range to make contact with somebody. They do. It's the Des Moines. It nets our damage to 175,000. And then we've still got 3 ships left alive versus 4. Not ideal. I think if I had this game back, and I was going to still take that corner, I would have made sure I was more angled. The Aegir, the Rhode Island, the Des Moines, all of them can certainly hurt the Hindenburg with AP, but it can effectively angle, I think, against all of them. Des Moines might potentially be the biggest problem. Maybe even Rhode Island would actually be a problem too, due to its pen angles, but still, angled is better than broadside, and, well, that was a good example of why. Now, it's crucial that we defend this capture circle, we don't allow them to take it, and we don't lose all of our ships at the same time. Enter the Sevastopol that spawned on the flank with me. He's going to push in here now. I think it's ultimately going to lead to his demise, but it's maybe not that big of a deal if he can trade and take somebody with him the way I did. And what do you know? The Des Moines that we hit with the torpedo, we set him up perfectly for the Sevastopol to get the kill here at the tail end of the battle. 3v3 now, we're even. And Sevastopol is a fairly tanky cruiser, although it does have overmatchable bow and stern by the likes of Sovetski Rossiya out there. The thing about Sovetski Rossiya, though, in my experience, is that it's not all that accurate. And I say that as he lands the sinking blow on the Sevastopol. Apparently he's accurate enough to take away that much HP. But this battleship that spawned on the flank with us, the Sovetski Rossiya, I believe. Yes, the AL Sovetski Rossiya, not wearing the AL camo, potentially because he doesn't like it, or maybe I have it off in my settings. I don't know. Either way, he is completely full health. He pushed down the flank in tandem with us, assisted us there, and now he's going to come in clutch with all this HP left to help us win the battle. He takes out the Rhode Island. He makes it an even 2v2. Worcester, who ran away earlier, is busy farming him from behind the safety of an island, and this scenario actually has both of these battleships spotting each other for the benefit of the cruiser on each team. The Harbin in a much better position than the Worcester, the center of the map, which is usually not the greatest place to put your light cruiser, but at the end of the game when there's only 2 ships left, it's a fine place, particularly when you've got to defend the Bravo cap. So both of these cruisers are farming each other, and because the Sovetski Rossiya on our end was full HP at the start of this engagement, and the Sovetski Soyuz on the red team was not, I think we can safely predict who's going to come out on top here. Sovetski Soyuz keeps losing HP all the time to the predations of the Harbin's HE spamming guns. Don't think he's really in a position where he has to worry about the deep water torpedoes, but really, the gun should be enough to end this. And as soon as Sovetski Soyuz goes back to port, Worcester loses vision. He can no longer shoot at our Sovetski Rossiya, and we win the game. Again, ideally, if I had this back, we probably would have been a little bit more cautious in turning that corner. But you don't always have to survive till the end of the battle in order to adequately affect the outcome and turn the tide. And there we go. Sovetski Soyuz goes down either to the Harbin or the Rossiya. I missed it. And then, well, Worcester, he's still kiting toward the map border. He was last spotted in A8. He's never going to be seen again. We win the battle. And we end with 175,000 damage done, top of the leaderboard at 3,600 base XP. Pretty good game in the Hindenburg, an excellent ship for taking out enemy cruisers, and I felt like this was a highlight worth showing you because we actually had some teammates that came in clutch at the end of things. So if any of you guys are watching this video, GG, you were the best team I had last night when I was playing this game for about 2 hours, and the entire blue team was terrible the entire time except for this battle. So I thank you for making this battle worth it, blue team. That's a rare enough thing from me, but it's a good way to start off the new year, I think. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.